Talk about the range. So the range of the Tesla Semi during unveiling was said to be 500 miles for the long range variant and 300 miles for the shorter range variant. But that unveiling happened about 3 years ago, where recently Elon Musk was interviewed, and during that interview he said that the range of the Tesla Semi could be about 1,000 kilometers.
And then you can take the range if you want for long range trucking up to we think easily 800 kilometers, and we see a path over time to get to 1,000-kilometer range with a heavy-duty truck. This is, like I said, truck on the order of 40 metric ton total mass.
So basically, the truck got a 120-mile range boost in about 3 years. Now, I think the shorter range variant, which is supposed to be 300 miles, will be closer to somewhere around 400 miles. And that's at max gross weight, which means the truck is traveling at highway speeds 60 miles an hour or about 100 kilometers an hour at maximum gross weight allowed on the US highways, which is about 80,000 pounds. At those speeds, that's about 10 hours of continuous driving, which I don't even think is allowed. I think you are required to take a break after a few hours of driving. Now, next point, we got acceleration. And why does this even matter for a semi? Well, I don't know about you, but whenever I'm stuck behind a semi-truck, whether I'm on the highway or on city streets, I tend to change lanes and go around it. And why is that? Purely because I know it's going to be slower. Even if it's on the highway, I know it's just going to be traveling slower, and on the city, it's going to accelerate slower at stoplights. So I know it's just better to stay behind other vehicles instead of staying behind the semi-truck. Even if it doesn't have a trailer, those semi-trucks accelerate pretty slowly. And you can see this all around. Next time you go out driving, just notice what other drivers do behind a semi-truck. You'll actually notice a lot of people change lanes purely because they're slower. And so acceleration for the semi-truck from 0 to 60 miles an hour is about 5 seconds without a trailer. With a trailer at max gross weight at 80,000 pounds, it can do 0 to 60 in 20 seconds, which is incredibly quick for such a heavy vehicle. So coming back to why does this matter? Well, think about this. Now you're behind a Tesla Semi and you know it's a Tesla Semi. So instead of moving out of the way, you can stay behind that semi truck because you know it will accelerate and keep up with traffic, and you don't have to change lanes. And plus, what this results in is lower traffic, lower congestion. So it's just a benefit to every road user. And also, just a side note here, probably don't try to drag race the Tesla Semi. I mean, it can probably outrun you. Even if it's carrying a trailer, you don't know how much weight is in the trailer. I don't even think they're allowed to drag race, but if someone was in the mood to drag race a Tesla Semi and the driver was up for it, sad to say, but you might lose against a semi-truck, even if you have a sports car. The next point that I want to come to is high-speed mountain climbing, or the ability to climb mountains at relatively high speeds. This semi-truck will have the capability to climb a 5% grade at maximum vehicle gross weight, about 80,000 pounds, at 65 miles an hour. Apparently, the best of the best semi-trucks, the diesel semi-trucks, can only do about 45 miles an hour. And those are the best of the best. I'm pretty sure most of the trucks on the road aren't the best of the best. And that is why you realize, say you're going up a hill, especially if you live near the Rockies or anywhere there's hills, you will notice that there's a separate lane for semi-trucks, and the semi-trucks would change into that lane because they know they would be going slower. Now imagine the Tesla Semi coming along at 80,000 pounds and just pulling the load like it's nothing. Your gas car might struggle going up the hill, but not the Tesla Semi. And this can be very beneficial because when going up a hill, you wouldn't actually block traffic, especially if it's one of those older roads without a second lane added onto it, and everyone just has to stay behind the semi-truck. And I know, I've been in those situations where I had to pretty much go at about 30 miles an hour up a hill when the speed limit was closer to like 50 or 60 miles an hour. You don't want to be doing that. So this truck is just another great help, just like the city example I took on my last point. Now, one question a lot of people have about the Tesla Semi, a lot of drivers and a lot of companies actually have, which Elon just recently hinted towards, was weight. And weight is a key component because the more the tractor weighs, the less weight there can be in the trailer. Basically, less goods can be transported in the trailer. And this is quite bad. If you have a really heavy trailer, you can transport less goods, which means you'll earn less money. But the Tesla Semi is only supposed to be, with the 600-mile range variant, is only supposed to be about 1,000 pounds heavier than a comparable diesel truck.
You're able to carry basically the same cargo as a regular diesel truck. We think maybe there's a 1-ton penalty, maybe, but at this point we think possibly you can even have less than a 1-ton payload reduction. And it could long term, I think, be 0 payload reduction for electric trucks.
Even if it's just 1,000 pounds heavier, which is kind of shocking if I'm being honest, for a 1,000 kilometer range, that is a truck that can pull 80 to 90% of the loads on US roads today. And also think about it this way. Most trucks aren't carrying their maximum gross weight, almost never. And so even if you had to lose 1,000 pounds from the trailer, it's not really that big of a deal because the cost savings alone would pay for it. And also there's a lower range variant, about 300 miles during the unveiling, which closer to 400 miles now. But what if that variant was actually lighter than an equivalent diesel truck? So for short commutes, you can use that truck and it can carry more weight in the trailer. It's just something to think about. Now let's talk about charging. So this truck will be capable of charging from 0 to 80% in about 30 minutes, which means you can get about 450 miles of range in about 30 minutes. And here's why recharge time is actually beneficial for a semi. So based on the law, you are legally required to take about a 30-minute stop after however 5 or 6 hours of driving. You can correct me on the details here, but after a long time of driving, you are required to take a 30-minute break. And so while you're taking that break, this truck can charge from almost empty to 450 miles of range in about 30 minutes. And here's something I don't really see talking about. A car you can fill up in under 5 minutes at a gas station. A big semi truck with about 2,000 kilometers of range, they take about 15 minutes to refuel. And during that time, you're not actively taking a break. You're just standing there while the truck is refueling itself. But while charging, you don't actually have to stand there, wait for it to just charge up. You can go inside the shop or whatever you are, maybe a restaurant, you can go take a washroom break, grab something to eat, and by the time you are done all of that, the truck will be more than enough charge for the next leg of your journey. So in that case, an electric semi-truck will actually be more convenient than a diesel semi. And for charging, Tesla is developing their mega chargers and they will deploy them as necessary because they're going to be working with the companies who actually bought the trucks like Pepsi or Walmart or basically any other company who actually has a big order for truck. And so they'll put the mega chargers on their route first and then put the mega chargers in various places so you can go pretty much all around the continental US and hopefully Canada in a few short years. Now let's talk about reliability. And reliability is quite a big factor for any car, let alone any vehicle, and especially a semi-truck. A car, you don't really have to do anything, especially if you have a relatively new car. All you really have to make sure is top up the windshield washer fluid, change the oil twice a year, depending on how much you drive and such. And that's pretty much it for the most part. But a semi-truck, you have to do a lot more maintenance on. But being an electric semi-truck, there really isn't that much to do. And because of that, you have more time where your truck is working, earning money, rather than being in the shop, not earning you anything. And this is just standard with all electric vehicles. And this truck is just going to use 4 motors. And Tesla says that if 2 motors fail, the truck is still drivable. And this truck will come with a 1 million mile or 1.6 million kilometer warranty. This means the battery, the drivetrain, and pretty much everything that goes along with it. Now, another added benefit for going electric is braking. The fact that you don't actually have to use the physical brakes. And the reason for that is all electric vehicles use something called regen. And what that really does is turn the electric motor into a generator. You can think of it kind of like a wind turbine. Wind pushes the blades, it turns the turbine, and inside there's an electric motor generating electricity. Effectively, your electric vehicle just becomes an electricity generator, and that electricity charges up the battery. So when going down the hill, what happens is instead of using the physical brakes, which can wear out or simply stop working, which actually has happened, and that's why you need these truck runoff points, you can use regen and you will actually end up with more range at the bottom of the hill than you had at the top without using physical brakes. This means that the physical brakes will pretty much last the life of the truck, or a very, very, very long time, probably 1 million miles or greater. The next point is safety.